So Geoff, you have Slingers coming out.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, I have a Spider-Man issue coming.
Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number
Issue
88 dot
88
bay.
Bay, Doc Bay. I don't know what that numbering is. I have nothing to do with that, folks. Don't come at me about that. I have no control. As we've learned in my other book, I have no cover control. I have no control over cover. But basically, this Beyond Corporation thing is a big deal in the Spider-Man part of the Marvel universe, maybe bigger than just Spider-Man. And when we were doing, I guess Mosaic fell into the Spider-Man office. So I'm if I pitch anything to Marvel, it basically starts there. And I wouldn't say I'm friends with anybody because we're not hanging out there in New York and I'm in California and they're all 20 and I'm 50. But occasionally they'll have a project and someone in the office will, hey Geoff, I remember when we were talking to Geoff, he likes X, or Geoff Thorne mentioned something about this like 3 years ago. Right? You think he's still interested like that? And I'll get an email or a call that's sort of like, are you still interested in this? Things like that. So Danny Kazan, I hope I'm saying his name right, his surname, hit me up during King in Black when I was doing the Black Panther one shot. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, you love the Prowler, right? And I was like, do not start a sentence. Do not start an official conversation with me with you like the Prowler, right? But you do, don't you? Like, yeah, I kind of like the Prowler a little bit. What have you heard? What do you get? What's going on? And he's like, well, we've got an idea that we would like to maybe explore the Prowler, or we'd like to explore Hobie. And I was like, look, let me stop you. I see what's going on with the movies, and the movies are sort of taking dominance. And the Miles Morales version of the Prowler, his uncle Aaron, that's the Prowler that you guys want to go with. That is not my Prowler. I don't have anything against Aaron. He was a great character. I love that movie. As you see in my Twitter, I'm all over that movie. I freaking love that movie. It's fantastic. But I have no interest in writing the adventures of that version of the Prowler. My Prowler is Hobie Brown, and will always be Hobie Brown. I think he deserves more than he's gotten from the comics industry. I always have. I've always wanted Hobie. I wrote the first pilot I wrote for Hollywood was a Hobie Brown, the Prowler.
Really?
Pilot. Yes. Long before the MCU. The first pilot 15 years ago, 20 years ago almost, I wrote the Prowler as a pilot for the TV show.
That's interesting.
And I love Hobie, which Danny knew somehow. And he's like, well, and I'm like, see, well is not a good thing to say when you start the conversation with, you love the Prowler, right? It's like, all right, just hear me out, Geoff. And I was like, all right, fine. And I'm already like, nothing he's going to say is going to make me happy because I know Hobie's not the Prowler. He's like, what do you think of the Slingers? And I was like, I mean, I love the book. It was fun, but it didn't really go anywhere. And then they turned into the Loners. And he's like, yeah, but what if Hobie was the Hornet? And I was like,
they gotcha.
You said the one thing, because if you follow Spider-Man, Hobie designed the Hornet flying harness because he couldn't wear it himself.
Yeah.
It was too heavy. It required someone with super strength. And I was like, all right, tell me more. And he's like, well, I love the Slingers. He personally, Danny loves the Slingers. And I was like, I love the Slingers. I like the idea of the Slingers. I just never thought it got its full, like wherever it was trying to go, it never got to go there.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, I agree. Like, so why don't you work up a pitch for this current event that we're doing and see if we can reintroduce Hobie together as the Hornet. And I was like, sure, how many pages? And he's like, half of a one shot. Not like the Black Panther thing you're doing. Like that's the whole book. It would be half of a normal size issue, so 10 or 12 pages. I was like, cool. And I had been following because it's Hobie. I kind of knew where he was. I wasn't sure if he was alive or not because I wasn't exactly current. You know what I mean? Like I was maybe 5 months, well, whatever his last appearance was, he's a guest star. So they disappear for a while and then he could turn up dead and I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean? Like, no, he's not dead. Definitely not dead. right? You don't have to do any resurrections or any crap like that. And we solved all that clone stuff. That's already taken care of. And I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. You're not expecting me to pull you out of that one. No chance. Not 10 pages, forget it. But he's like, no, all that stuff. So I just said, so he's in New York during the symbiote attack, Null's attack on New York, where it was zombies plus Godzilla plus, I don't know, some sort of magical black rain. Like, it was horrifying. It was a horror story. And this is going to be a little tiny piece of it. And they wanted to do a story where, what's everybody else doing while the big heroes are fighting Null? So I was like, well, technically Hobie's a street hero, right? He's not fighting galactic adventures. He's had a lot of weird backstory. He's been a clone, he's been dead, he's been a criminal, he's been a hero, he's been on teams. It's a mess.
He's been crippled.
He's been crippled. It's horrifying. His life is a horror show. So I just pitched this thing where he's basically, I pictured his wife, not the long-suffering wife, but like at some point she's like, all right, dude, I'm done. You're out of your damn mind. You keep getting put in the hospital or jail, and you're a genius. Why are you a genius over here and totally stupid over here? Right? Everything you do over here is completely stupid, and over here you're a freaking genius, like a straight up Tony Stark genius, right? Make the two things mix. Stop being stupid, right? And so I figured that they'd broken up over that. And then there was a whole thing where he had been cloned, and then she was married to his clone. She was like living with and cohabitating with his clone, which from the wife's point of view is technically still him. She's not cheating. But if I found out that my wife was a clone of my real wife, that would be a hard day for me.
It would be very difficult.
Right. So they dealt with all of that. Now the real Hobie's back, and he's trying to get back with his wife, right? It's like, look, you were right. I'm trying to walk the straight and narrow. I'm not going to be the prowler anymore. It's a whole big deal. I'm not going to be the prowler. And then the symbiotes attack. And he's like, I didn't say anything about being the Hornet, though.
I didn't say anything. I'm technically not lying.
I'm not lying. And she's like, Hobie. He's like, you just hide. I got to go handle this. I'm now a hero, and I've got to go handle it. And we had a really fun, I got to work with Jan Baldzura, a lovely, I believe, Brazilian artist who had done Mr. and Mrs. X for Marvel. I had not worked with Jan before, but she is ridiculously good. And I was like, as soon as I saw the pages, I'm like, is she trying to draw an X-Men book? Like, this is just a 10-page story in a tie-in for an event. Why is she going off like this? But I'm guessing maybe Danny told her, look, go crazy, like flex. So we got a little short thing with Hobie using his brains and his new Hornet suit to fight symbiotes in the middle of Manhattan. It was really fun. And I thought that was the end of it. You know, I didn't think anything more would come of it. Not that I expected more. I just was like, hey, that was fun. Great. I got to write Hobie. Always wanted to write Hobie. Great. And then Danny emailed me again. He's like, everybody really liked that Hobie story. And you set the Hornet up to be a hero. You want to bring the Slingers back. Right. And I was like, did you plan this? This seems like a plan. It seems like I'm being handled right now, mister. Right? Like, you're manipulating me. And yes. You know. So basically,
I don't appreciate the manipulation, but
you
yes.
are manipulating me extremely well, sir. I did not appreciate it. Right. So I said, sure. I mean, what do you got? He's like, what do you got? And I didn't know about the Beyond. Ironically, I'm in the Spider-Man office. I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan. Like, I like all the extra heroes around Spider-Man, but Peter himself, meh, I don't care.
He's
right?
kind of a self-pitying
Ben.
doofus, isn't he?
I don't have a negative about him. I don't want to get in trouble for having negative feelings about Peter Parker, but
I love Ben
don't
Reilly.
care. Ben is my man. Ben
Yeah.
Reilly is my Spider. I love Ben Reilly, right? But so I was like, all right, so what's going on? And that's when they told me about all this Beyond Corporation stuff. Well before before it became a real thing. I was probably 8 months out ahead of the public because they had to let me know what was going on. So I was like, this is crazy. And the Beyond's doing what? And they're operating how? Okay, how would we fit Hobie and the Slingers into that? And Dad was like, that's up to you. Give us a pitch. Like, but they're open to it. And I like the Slingers as much as you like the Slingers, maybe more, says Daddy. And I'm like, Cool, bet. Let me think about it. And I pitched him out something, and he's like, okay, that's crazy. That's too big for this event. But the core of it, I really like. I'm not going to spoil it because the book's coming out at this point. Well, no, this will air after the book comes out.
Do you want me
The
to
book
air
comes
it
out
after
next
the
week.
book comes out?
No, I'm not going to
Yeah.
spoil it. Everybody
Okay.
will go buy the damn book. But I pitched him a couple of things about Hobie that I thought were possibly true based on everything that had happened prior, where he is in the context of his life inside the Marvel universe. And
That's your
then I
specialty.
said, well, I wasted all those years reading these damn comics. I should put it to some kind of use. So, and I like the idea of him and Mindy being a couple. I didn't want them to have any sort of, well, she was dating this other guy, or, you know, I'm secretly this. And I wanted to, for once, just to have a straight up loving married couple.
Yeah.
Like, she understands him. She mocks him all the time, like real wives do with their husbands. And she's better at some things, and he's better at some things, and they complement each other. And they're making it work because he promised he wouldn't be the Prowler anymore, which he's keeping that promise. And the whole Hornet thing is sort of as needed. It's not like I am now a superhero. It's more like if they need me, I now have an ability to go help, which is not the same thing. Right. And then all this Beyond Corporation stuff, which is ongoing in the larger book, happened around them. And it definitely affects this book in a harsh way. Like Beyond does something to Hobie at the very beginning of the story that you're like, oh, damn. Right. And it's all legal. And you're just like, what is this? So there's a little bit of a mystery. And how the Slingers get involved with it is fun. Me and Danny talked about that quite a bit because Hobie isn't a slinger. He's wearing a Hornet costume, which he designed, but he isn't one of the Slingers, right? That was another set of people, two of whom are dead. So we're like, how do we get around that? As you know, I don't like doing resurrections. That irks me. So I was like, how are we going to do that? He's like, well, let's talk. So I came up with some stuff. He's like, I like all of those things you said. So I was like, great. So Hobie's dilemma overlaps with the dilemma of one of the other Slingers. And then they basically team up to solve whatever their joint dilemma is, or at least a piece of it. And then there's a little bit of a mystery. It's only in one issue. It's a one-off, right? A springboard idea issue. But there's a larger thing that can be done, and I hope will be done with the Slingers. Like, we are in serious talks about that.
Yeah.
If I can come up with the right story, I think Marvel will do at least a miniseries bringing them back. So it's kind of the ball's in my court right now, and I got some ideas. But just picture Hobie as, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe Hobie. What if Tony Stark never had any advantages at all in life?
Yeah. I get
Zero advantage. Okay. And he has the personality of Speedball. Like, he doesn't have any attention span except when he's solving a specific problem. Right? Which is what gets him into trouble all the time. Because he's like, he'd be the guy who's like, why do you even have a device that does that? Why would anyone have that device? Well, it's working for us right now, isn't it? My drone skates are working, aren't they? Shut up. You don't have drone skates, you know? So, like, his technology, if you went to Tony Stark's workshop, it all looks cool and Star Trek-y and high tech. Hobie's workshop, which ultimately produces equally interesting devices, looks like a garage.
Yeah.
Right? He's that guy. He never had any of the breaks of going to college. MIT never scouted him. Right? So he's a self-taught genius engineer that Stan Lee likes to make up. Right? And I just sort of, let's run with that. And his wife is a hotshot, top-level legal mind. So I pitched them sort of a Nick and Nora Charles
The thin
relationship
man.
to the Thin Man sort of relationship, except Hobie doesn't drink. He's just a goofball. So there's something Hobie does in the story. I hope it comes out. I hope it comes across, because I thought it was funny, where his wife is just describing a problem, and as men will do, they'll hear a woman describing a problem and think, oh, she's telling me to fix this.
We're always wrong.
You're never right, gentlemen. Never right. She's not telling you that so you'll go fix it. She's telling you that so you'll empathize and be with her while she figures it out. Okay? Please listen to me. I've been married 25 years. Don't be stupid. She's not asking for you to help. You know how you'll know? She'll ask you for help if she wants you to help. Okay. If she does not say those words, odds are very high she does not want your freaking help. Okay. So Hobie's the opposite of what I just
She just
said.
wants to let it
Hobie-
out
see,
and have someone listen.
Hobie is the opposite of what I just said. He's just like, oh, you need something? Cool. You know? And I think that's fun and funny. And so it's a much lighter book. It's not like I wanted to get away from what I'm doing with Green Lantern, but Green Lantern is kind of like a sci-fi novel in a way, to me, in my mind right now. This book is very much like, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
You know, so this issue is light. It's a very straightforward, simple superhero story. You get some fun banter between the husband and the wife. You get to see Hobie both very competent and kind of a goofball. And the thing that I love about Marvel when it's done right, and I hope I get to, Kurt Busiek does this very well, a couple of the other writers do this very well, is there's a whole world of Marvel going on. There's characters people forget exist. Those characters have jobs. They live in a city with these other people, and you can pick them up and use them. You can make them background characters. Like there's a character I throw into this story that Danny was like, nice touch, you know? And I was like, well, is anyone using her? Nope. Has anyone even thought of her in 10 years? Nope. Cool, she's ours, right? And the Slingers are sort of the same thing. They are both, they've been around long enough that you have some nostalgia for them. Like there's some, by the way, I'm not a fan of nostalgia. I actually hate nostalgia, but they have a rep within the universe. Like people know who the Slingers are. There's many people who I've seen on my Twitter feed, people are like, the Slingers are coming back. And I'm like, really? You know, because I always feel like the things I like, a lot of them are things that aren't just things I like, right? But there's a lot of people who are like, when are the Slingers coming back, apparently? So great. Plus this new wrinkle where Hobie is both sort of with them, but not really one of them because he wasn't. Two of them are dead, so we're going to somehow have to replace those two with somebody. I don't, or one of them, I guess.
So this is the original dead, Ricochet and Dusk, right?
Yeah, Ricochet and Dusk are the originals. Obviously, Hobie takes the place of Hornet, and we're going to have to see about Prodigy.
I was going to say he's not on the cover.
No, I have some plans for him, but there was not enough room in this book for that. So I have some very nice plans for him if we get to keep going. But we are not there in this book. This is just the wetcher, just to get you a little taste of what we can do with it. And so there's a lot of setup of what the base concept is. I'm not going to spoil it. It's all in the story. Like a lot of what I'm not telling you is literally is the story of this book. So we did some talking about redesigning the Hornet costume slightly. If you remember, the original Hornet had an exposed face except for the visor. I know people don't like this, but there's no way a black man's flying around Manhattan in a costume with his face exposed, and then his identity doesn't get discovered, right? So he can't expose his face because how many genius black inventors are there wandering around Manhattan? Like, I wonder if that's Hobie Brown in that costume. Like he can't show his face. So the Hornet costume is slightly different for Hobie. And he's a tinkerer. So his version of the Hornet costume does stuff the original Hornet costume did absolutely did not do, right? And so that's going to be fun because if we get to do the book, things like the Dusk costume, what can he do to help Ricochet? Like he won't stop tinkering. He's always tinkering with things, which sometimes is great. And sometimes the person's like, don't touch my jacket, man. Did I ask you to touch my damn jacket? Don't touch my freaking jacket. But I can make it better. Did I ask you to make it better? Take 2 steps back, please. Right? Like that. And then there's the whole thing that's going on with Beyond, which gets introduced here, where his wife's going to be dealing with the legalities of Beyond. Like just literally a legal drama set in the Marvel universe. So obviously you can do crossovers with She-Hulk if you want. Matt Murdock could show up at some point. Like, I'm not saying these things will happen. I'm saying that this is because the way the Marvel interconnectedness works, all the writer has to do is come up with a plausible job set where people don't go, why is Daredevil in this book? You know what I mean? But if you set it up right, no one does that. They go, when is Daredevil going to show up? You know, like that. So, and the Slingers are street level heroes. Like they don't have a giant bankroll. They don't have a Quinjet. They're not hooked up with the Shield giving them missions. You know, they don't stop Galactus, right?
Yeah.
So there's no scientist that's opening his own negative zone in the middle of Manhattan, like Reed somehow is allowed to do. I don't know what the hell kind of zoning they have in Marvel Manhattan, but he's got a negative zone gate in his house. What? Like whose palm is Reed Richards greasing for that? So it's fun because there's so many characters that you and I might go, you know, where's this character I like? You know, and I'm not to put too fine a point on it. Where's this handicapped character that was really cool, but no one ever does anything with? Where's this person
I
from
know
another?
who you're talking about.
Maybe, but that kind of thing can be done in a book like Slingers very effectively because also of the age set of the people involved, right?
Yeah.
Like Charles Xavier's not making any new friends, right? But a 25-year-old, they're making new friends all the time. Just depends on how their lives are going, right? So I feel like it's fun. I hope the audience likes it enough to get us at least a mini series out of it down the line. I know Danny and I both want to do it. Jan came back for half of this book, but she had other commitments, so she had to step out.
Oh,
The
so
new
that's
guy.
why.
So yeah, there's the other
Jim
guy.
Toe.
He's great, by the way. Their styles mesh. I think that's partly the colorist is great, but also I think he did a good job sort of messing their styles. I didn't feel jolted in any particular way. I would have nothing against him at all, but Jan got it started, so I was hoping it would be us again. I like to work with whatever, but it doesn't always work out that way. Now I got a new friend, and like if we get to go forward and it's me and him, that's fine too. Like it's going to be something.
What if
Definitely
it's
gonna be something.
what if it's you and the original artist of the Slingers?
Look, I will always work with Chris Cross. I will always, if you say Chris is on the book, I will show up and work with Chris. That man is great. And it's weird. We're roughly the same age, but it's kind of like a childhood dream to work with Chris Cross. Like, you know what I mean? He originated a couple of books, and also people forget he did. He's done so much that people forget. He was also one of the pivotal Captain Marvel artists working with Peter David, and like he did Phyla-Vell, he did Genis. Like Chris is a beast, and if you could work with him on any of the things that he helped create, why wouldn't you? Like, why would you not do that? So, yeah, if Marvel said we could only do a Slingers mini if Chris Cross and you do it, I'll be like, so let's start cutting those checks. Let's go.
Let's do it right now.
Like, does Chris want to go? Because I'm ready to go. But the sling, you'll see when you see the book. The Slingers of old were sort of aimless. They were sort of a reactive set of superheroes. They had powers. Stuff was going on around them. They were easy to manipulate because they were young and new to the game. These guys have already been through all that. And Hobie is absolutely not new to the game. He's very good at the superhero side of things. So he works both as he's not old enough to be like a Professor X character, so he doesn't have that. Like if all the Slingers are in their early 20s, he's in his late 20s. So he's ahead of them, but he's been doing more. Also, he doesn't have any actual powers. He's just really smart. So
he's like Peter.
Yeah, he's kind of like Peter without the sad fact. He's Peter with a life that works in a lot of ways.
Except they're both self-sabotaging individuals.
Yeah, it's weird because think about Hobie and how crazy stupid he is and smart at the same time. Hobie is a genius. This is Stan Lee, by the way, who only seems to come up with geniuses. All of his characters prior to superpowers are freaking genius. Right? Peter's a genius, Reed's a genius, Hobie's a genius, Tony's a genius. Everybody's a genius. But in Hobie's case, a genius without advantages. So his idea is, here's what I'll do. I'll come up with all these inventions that make me sort of like Spider-Man. And I'll dress up in this costume and I'll go out in public and I'll do very public theft. Right? And that'll see that everyone knows how good I am. And there was no one around him to say, you're going to do all of that was fine up until very public thefts. Why would you think of stealing things publicly so that everyone knows you did it as a great advertising tool for your inventions? What the hell is wrong with you? Right? And the answer is a lot. Hobie is really weird. And he needs a stabilizing force in his life, which luckily is his wife.
Yeah.
Which is why I say when he's with her, or those when you've ever read the story of Hobie in Marvel and things have been going well, he is coincidentally married to Mindy and everything's going great at the time. Whenever things are going poorly, these are these weird solo adventures of the Prowler, and he's having trouble with his wife. And I'm like, well, do the math. You're better off with your wife, dude. Do not be a solo operator. So there's a lot of fun to be had with that, right? And if we get to do it, Mindy is not Lois Lane, or although I should rephrase that. Lois has evolved into being a straight up hard ass herself.
Yeah.
But initially, she was a damsel in distress. Just because she has no superpowers does not make Mindy the weak link. Mindy is by far not the weak link. In some ways, she's the brains of the operation, even though he's the big brain. She's the focused brain. And one of the things that she will do in the story is be like, okay, if you do what you just said, you're going to go to prison. Here's what you should do instead, right? Do all that stuff, but do it like this so you don't go to prison. Because I don't like when you're in prison.
Again.
It's really bad when you're in prison again, right? It would be like the 8th time, you know, and you always get out on a technicality. I understand, but I'm your wife. I prefer not to visit you in jail even once. Okay, so just do it like that, right? And then on the chances they get into trouble because their identities are secret, she can be their lawyer, right?
That's true.
The thing about, I don't know if this has been established in the She-Hulk because she's really the big superhero lawyer right now, but there has to be some provision in the Marvel version of the universe where until you're convicted, you don't have to reveal your identity, right? Because so many people, the cops would just be like, we're going to arrest you because you're standing around in a costume. First thing, take that thing off, give us some fingerprints. You know, so the idea being is that Mindy can be their lawyer if they need one as well. Like she can be the public lawyer if they need one for free. God knows what they'll be up to that they would need a lawyer for. I don't know. But so yeah, so it could be a lot of fun. I hope it's a lot of fun, but even if it's only just this issue, I'm happy with it. And to bring them back at all is kind of a nice thing. I always like the Slingers. I have all the issues around here someplace. And yeah, if they could sweeten it by bringing Chris back, like, I mean, nothing against all the artists I love, but he helped build them. They're his children. If he wants to draw them, he gets to draw them.
Crisscross is crisscross. So
he's crisscross. Plus, he's a giant. He's literally a giant. He could reach from Manhattan and pull me out of my seat. Chris's arm just would appear.
Isn't he like 6'9"?
Yeah, he's gigantic. He's. I used to have a fantasy. I actually like when someone's taller than me because they never are. He's massively taller. So it's great. Dwayne McDuffie, also much taller than me. I was like, yay, now I understand what other people feel like.
You ever hear the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Andre the Giant, and Wilt Chamberlain?
Please tell me that story. I've never heard it.
They were filming Conan and they were having dinner. And then Arnold decided he was going to pay. Andre always paid. So what Arnold did was he went to the bathroom and then left his card with the with the cashier to pay. And then he came back and then Andre's like, Arnold, what did you do? And then before he knew it, Andre stood up and picked him up with one hand and took him out of the restaurant. And then Wilt came and like took him by the other hand. And there's a picture of the three of them.
Oh my God.
There's a picture of the three of them and Arnold Schwarzenegger looks like a very small person at this point.
Oh my God, that's bizarre. Land of the freaking Giants. I'm gonna look that up. That's fascinating. Oh, that's funny. I'm just picturing a disgruntled Andre the Giant in my face. Like, okay, I'm so sorry, sir. I will cancel the payment. Anything you want, sir. Holy crap. Oh no, you have displeased me. Come outside, let's discuss it. I do not wish to destroy this bar. Oh my God.
Anybody want
Are
a
we going to
peanut?
destroy the bar, Andre the Giant? Please stop calling me the Giant. But you're a giant.
Andre.
That is not my name. Just Andre.
All right. Anything else
God.
you want to plug? Anything else you want to
I
add?
don't know. I'm doing a comic book for free on my Patreon called Sparks. I've been putting up been putting up 2 pages every Wednesday for a while to get through the first issue, see if people like it. So far, everyone who does look at it does seem to. It's free. You don't have to become a member. You don't have to pay me a dime. I just want to see if people dig it. Seems like people do. It's young adult, sort of X-Men-y, sort of Inhumans, I guess. It's just fun. It's just fun. And it's my own label. It's my Winterman Comics label. So come on down. I'm going to leave it up for a while, but not forever. So
that's patreon.com/Geoff Thorne.
I think you can just go to jeffreythorne.com and get through to my Patreon.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's fun, but it won't be up forever. I'll leave it up for a while just because why wouldn't you? But at some point, I'm going to make a deal with the company for it. And then as soon as I do that, it's going to go behind the paywall. So get it free while you can, man. Come and look at it. Sparks. And that's it.
Very cool.
That's all I got. That's all I can talk about. I got a lot of stuff coming up.
Well, we'll talk again.
Yes, we will, sir. Yes, we will. We're going to talk definitely after Green Lantern 12. We're definitely going to talk after Green Lantern 12.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Well, I told you this, I think, in our earlier interview, one of our earlier interviews. There are a whole bunch of people that were defending me because of all the Hal Jordan nonsense. And they're on my side because I was going to do all these wonderful things. And a whole bunch of people were mad at me because of the same reason. I'm going to be very interested to see if the sides are identical at the end of this story. That's all I have to say. We'll see if everybody lines up the same way.
Writers are here to play with your emotions is the lesson I'm learning.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Geoff.
Thank you. Thank you, as always.